Now joining me at the table to discuss UMass softball, Demi Foley and Mark Jean-Louis. Guys, welcome to the table. Let's get right to it. Now, we just came off the baseball segment, seeing the positive stuff from the baseball team. Won 4 out of their last 5. Seeing some of the same stuff from the softball team, have won 7 of their last 8. Really turned around a rough start of the season, just like the baseball team. Very similar seasons going between both these teams. Mark, I'm going to start it with you. How has the softball team got to this point, that rough start to the season, now winning 7 of the last 8?
I think what's important to realize here is that you look at this past weekend against St. Bonaventure, they scored 27 runs in 12 innings. And just thinking about that, that's just an amazing statistic and amazing accomplishment for this UMass softball team, especially considering for the month of March, it seemingly looked as if they couldn't score 27 runs the entire month. But let me tell you something about this team right here. They are one of the most battle-tested teams that I've seen at UMass in recent history. I talked with the coach, Christy Stepanoni, the other day, and she's been telling me that, this team has been working on just the everyday fundamentals of hitting, trying to move base runners along in base running situations. And I also spoke with Caroline Raymond over the weekend after their doubleheader win against St. Bonaventure, and she gives a lot of credit to her players being able to score runs for her. So it's a lot easier for a pitcher, when you have that run support behind you instead of always having to try and struggle to battle back, and it really gives you the upper hand moving forward.
So that's been kind of a common thing we've seen with the softball team, even in past years, that the pitching's there and we see solid pitcher performances, but the offensive production just isn't quite there. So we're starting to see that now with this team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at one point in the season, UMass softball was 3-14 with a batting average of 235, and now we've seen them rise up to 281, and now they're 10-15, like you said, 7-1 in the last 8 games. And a big part of that is Bridget Lee Meyer. She has really been the offensive catalyst these last couple of games, hitting close to 600 in last week's games with I think she had 3 home runs against the first game in St. Bonaventure and another home run in game 2 of that doubleheader. So definitely she has been picking up the offense for this team.
Demi, what do you think? What has turned this team around so far this season?
I just think something that we need to look at is the start to the season and how similar it was to the baseball team, and take into account just the schedule and the inclement weather that they faced. A lot of games were canceled. Both teams weren't really on the field that much, and as soon as spring really fully kicked in, baseball, we saw a different aura of them on the field, and the same thing happened with softball. So I definitely think their schedule and the weather played a huge role. Mark went into just a lot of logistics of what we've seen out of this team, and we've seen a lot of consistency lately. They're progressively getting better, and the coaches say, they're working on the basics. They're going back to the basics and the fundamentals to improve their game, which makes 100% sense. And I feel like if they're on a path, or if they continue like this, we're only going to continue to see more exponential progress.
Now, as this season continues on here, it's a similar situation to the baseball team. Are they going to be able to keep up a pace of winning 7 out of 8, or even winning over 500, because as we saw, they were well below 500, as you mentioned, 3-14 to start the year. So now that they're experiencing the success, looking at their schedule that's coming up, knowing there's a little bit weather in the future for them, more home games as well, a lot of positive stuff in the future for them. Do you think they can continue this kind of pace as we look toward the rest of the season?
I mean, definitely. What I was saying earlier, this is the definition of a battle-tested team right here. They've suffered through 10 cancellations and 2 games postponed this season. So that's already 12 games that they're missing right there. They're supposed to be playing tomorrow against Boston University, but again, that game has been postponed due to the weather. But looking forward for the rest of the season, they've got, I think, only maybe 1 game left on the roads, and they have not lost a home game yet this season. So definitely, just looking at the schedule, all those games at home, that definitely plays in their favor. Heading into this matchup against LaSalle University, LaSalle, they have 3 players that bat over 300, but as a team, they're only hitting 255. So that's not exactly what I'm worried about. What I'm interested in seeing, though, is looking at their pitcher. She's 8-7. Yeah, exactly, 500 winning percentage, but what's really interesting about her is that she has 65 strikeouts as opposed to 16 walks. And matchup against Caroline Raymond, that's definitely going to be a low-scoring matchup that I'm really interested to see. UMass, again, battle-tested team, so I definitely think that just the struggles that they have went through this season plays in their favor.
So we know that the skill is there. We know they have the potential. The weather's getting better. We know the home games are going to start coming into play a little more, and them being a little more comfortable playing. Do you think that they can continue this pace and maybe see some postseason action for them in the A-10?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely foresee there being a chance for some postseason action. They're in a position where they have a nice steady pace of consistent wins. They're not up and down in terms of getting blown out and then blowing another team out. They're very consistent. Their play is progressively getting better and staying on a competitive par. So I do foresee them being able to take this into the postseason for sure. And just like Mark said, like, we have a strong team, we have some depth, we have great pitching, and so coming into the LaSalle game, it might be a low scoring game, but I think we can come out on top and continue that on into the rest of the season.
Well, just like the men over on the baseball field, we hope the women continue with this recent found success after tough starts to the season. And as the season finishes out, hopefully these teams will be making some postseason play and maybe make a run at A10 title. Who knows? Nice underdog story. We will be keeping an eye on them for sure, guys. Thanks for your stuff. Stay tuned. We'll be right back to finish up with UMass Lacrosse.